Hello, viewers. Thank you for waiting. And I'm delighted to have Beverli back because we are looking at the demonic aspect of this case. People thought we were crazy when we were talking about the cult of Baal and all this stuff months, years ago. And now we've got Epstein with the Baal bank account. We've got Wexner admitting he's got a Dybbuk, a demon. We've got the Prince Andrew photo of him coming out of the jail. Looks like his demon does not want to be in this host kind of a image. And Beverli is an expert in all of this stuff for many, many decades. Beverli has been sensing these energies, and she's going to use her expertise to break this down for us, folks. But also very important, if you could please support Beverli's channel. Link is in the description box, and support her important work. And there is so much nefarious, demonic energy surrounding this whole case. There's revelations of people being unalived, eaten, jerky. It just gets crazy and crazy every single bloody day. And then Prince Andrew goes and gets arrested. Beverli, what do you make of this madness? And huge thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Shaun. It's nice to see you again. Yes, I've been following it with great interest. And the other one that is another issue, which we'll talk about later, is the Leslie Wexner one, which I will say that his personal demons don't call him Leslie. They call him Herbie, which is a derogatory term. I know, it's awesome, isn't it? Because I thought, when I started looking at the energies, I thought, it's Leslie Herbert. So they're derogatory. They're calling him a diminutive of himself. So it's Herbie. So that's who I'll refer to him as, Herbie, when I start talking about him. But I think, yes, Andrew, I had correctly predicted some time last year that he was going through a lot of problems. This picture of him in the car, he has got a face that says it all, apart from the rodent teeth. But he definitely has that face that is showing, oh my goodness, what has happened? You know, what has happened to me, and now I'm being carted off, etc. On his special day.
You even told me on his special day he would be released and he'd be back.
I did.
Yeah. In and out.
Yeah, because we had that conversation. I said, oh, don't worry, it's not going to be in. Everyone thought he would be there for 24 hours or 40, at the most 90 hours. I said to you, he's coming back home the same day. He won't be kept overnight, definitely not. So we knew that was going to happen. But his energy in this particular picture is he is running scared. What is very interesting is that you've got the two different eyes. The two eyes are very different. The one on the left has a different type of energy around it, and the one on the right is totally, completely and utterly not his. The one on the right is the one where he's connecting to whatever it is that's been pushing him to do all sorts of things. So he definitely has an unusual aura about him. For the first time ever in his life, he was starting to panic. We've never seen that before with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. We've never seen him in that space because he always had his beloved mother to look after him, and he was always able to come out of whatever nonsense and sticky toffee that he was wading through. He was always able to get himself out of the stuck. Not this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got what I describe as the shock of the newly incarcerated. He's going through that experience himself. But like you have just hit on a pertinent point there, there's something that's been driving him to, when he's getting advised by his Royal Protection officers that Jeffrey Epstein is a PDF file and you shouldn't be going out there. Yeah. Something's driving him to just completely steamroll his professional advice and go out there, this famous person walking in the park with a convicted PDF. I mean, it's just absolute insanity. Now, we've looked into this Dybbuk that Wexner has.
Yes.
I imagine that Andrew's got a completely different type of demonic energy.
Yes.
Could you get deeper into that for us, please, Beverli?
Yes. Well, the demonics are, categorized in different types of categories. But the main category that is walking, actually, there's two types that are walking with both Les Wexner as well as the Andrew person. They both have a Duke level demon. So a Duke level demon is one that has got many minions, a lot of different casts of these energy beings that will, basically suck whatever life force out of you that they can. But they both have, each of them have a Duke level, which is quite interesting because it means that both of the entities that are walking with both of the men, both Les Wexner and Andrew, are on the same level. So this is going to be interesting to see who it is that the demonic will decide is more important and worth keeping aside as an easy or a direct asset. And I do think that the Andrew one will probably lose in this contretemps because he doesn't have that level of involvement, and he certainly doesn't have that level of capacity anymore to be able to do exactly whatever the Duke level demon is pressurizing him to do. He doesn't have that anymore. So it's so interesting. Well, not only is he losing favor with the demonic realm, but he's also losing favor with his brother, with Charlie Boy, and he's also losing favor with the extended royal family, as well as any of those that have come into contact with him. He has lost favor with them too. So I'm going to find it very interesting to see where would Andrew be able to pull that energy from, because as you see by his energies, it's dropping. So we know that there's a couple of things that can happen. Generally, when somebody's energy field drops to that level, there's only two things that happen. One, they're transitioning, which means they're getting ready to leave this earthly realm, 3D, or alternatively, they're getting ready to transition out of the country or move away from everything that they know and everything that they hold sacred and run. So I really hope that the old Bill has taken his passport away from him, because if they didn't think he's a flight risk, he is a major flight risk. He's always saying, I think I just want to go to my pals somewhere in the UAE or somewhere in Saudi or somewhere, whoever can give me a palace and keep me at the level that I'm accustomed to. That's what he's off to go and do. So it's a very difficult situation, and I'm hoping that the police will, keep his passport back, because if he does run, it's going to be very hard to get him back. The other aspect, the other section of the transition is, and this is very shocking, is there's a possibility that his life force becomes quite low. So it either means that he will end up in a depressive state, or it means that he will end up with maybe unaliving himself, with some assistance, of course. Or it means that somebody will be asked to unalive him. So when I did these images, literally the day before he was arrested, this particular image shows him standing there with these bright red energetic hands. So this tells me that he's had these bright red, balls of fire energy around his hands, that he's had them in all sorts of fingers, in all sorts of pies. He's been busy here, there, and everywhere with the trail of issues that are left behind him, because we know there are many. And then you have the circular areas around his body. So it does show that he's heating up. He's getting more and more angry. And that dark red at the bottom, he has extreme hatred for his brother and for his brother's children. So that's already telltale. Then when you have a look, if you cast your eyes across to the top, if you look at the energy symbols of all of those of his ancestors, those that have come before him. they are all shown around him because they realize that if anyone is going to derail the royal family in the UK, it is him. But they also know that he has a Duke-level demon walking with him. So this is why you will see them surrounding him, trying to protect him. His mother is also there trying to protect him. His father is also there trying to protect him. So all of this is happening literally in plain sight. Very difficult. So if you look, you can see I've put all the images of the ancestors coming in and coming out. You've also got an unusual section around the throat. Throat chakra also has this very big band around it. And that tells us that there is a level of gagging because he's not able to get the words out. So in the throat chakra, it's like, can't get them out, can't get them out. I think at some point somebody would have said to him, look, don't you go saying things like this. We'll find a way around it. Don't say anything. Whatever you do, do not speak. So they've basically closed his throat chakra, which means that they're closing off his way to speak. But I think what will be interesting is there is also the one that I did of Fergie. Now, Fergie and Andrew have this very odd connection where the two of them are connected between the solar plexus area. So just above your belly button, there's that energy. So they were twin flames. They are still twin flames. They can't get away from that, which is why they can't get away from each other. Now, the other bull in the china shop, yes, big bull in the china shop, is the Fergie energy. So if Andrew ever wanted to get something out into the public or find a way around things, he would give the energy and the information to Fergie, then Fergie would get that out. That's how that's playing out. So you've got a lot of the monies at the bottom. If you see the bottom of the energies around Andrew and also sometimes Fergie too, they have a very strong money driven. If you have a look at the bottom there, we just see thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. The other aspect is I see a lot of the energies to do with the old bill. So we can see that there is definitely a police energy, there's definitely an investigation. And because the police energy is there, that meant the incarceration. So he has been taken into, he will be taken in to be questioned. Might be also a person of interest within the next few weeks. This case is going to move really fast. And also what is happening is I also you see there's papers at the bottom with the blue lights, these two blue lights at the bottom. That's the papers. So that means that the Epstein files, the new ones as well as the old ones, they're going to be paying an entire crew of 15 or 20 individuals that are going to be scouring all of the records for any information that can join the Epstein person and the Andrew person together. And that's part of this investigation as well.
Wow, phenomenal. We've got another phenomenal work of art here. Let me just make it normal size to start with and get your opinion on this one. This is the final image.
Yeah, that's the final image before we can also look at the Epstein ones if you like. I sent you those. Now, this is the one where this is what worries me about him, is he's created this egg structure around himself where he's got his toroidal field. You can see he's enclosed. He's totally inside that. He's enclosed in that. He's got his ancestors. You can see them all beautifully in the background there. And literally he finds himself, I'm alone in outer space. I'm alone in this space. He's going to be very, very good. Mark my words. He's going to be very good at playing the victim because that's what he's going to be doing. He's going to pretend that he's the victim. He's the one badly done by. He's the one that's had all these problems and how awful everyone is being to him. Yeah, because he's working from that awful dark green energy, which is the jealousy, the envy, the mixed with rage, and that's towards some of his family, but specifically towards his brother and his brother's son. So we've got all of that happening. So you can see there's lots of spikes coming out of him. But I am concerned because that field that's around him shows if he gets to a point where he shuts himself down, there's only two ways for him to go. And that is either he flees the country and never comes back, or there's a level of unaliving that is possible, which will be the same then as everybody else in this case. You know, you've got Brennan and you've got Epstein and you've got a few others that have done exactly the same thing. So both things are possible there. So he has got two paths open to him, two different paths at this stage. And both of them are very different and very difficult. But neither of them are ones that he wants. That's why he's got those energy sort of batons coming out of his head, because he's not the sharpest pencil in the box, let's face it. You know, he's not that great with these things, and he doesn't believe that he's got himself into this. And it's quite quickly since his mother's passing. He's basically gone to pot, quite frankly.
And deservedly so. It's the consequences of his actions have finally caught up with him.
Oh.
And to think that this is a historical story, because a senior royal has never been arrested like this before. The king's own brother. We are seeing history in the making, and yes. This possessed guy is not taking it very well at all.
And I think the thing that is the Duke level demon that is possessing him, I think the demon kind of is now going to be pushing him to be more outspoken, to have a greater attitude of, you know, I'm entitled, you can't do this to me, etc. The one thing that this demon entity is going to do, which I can't tell you exactly what the dateline is, but I think that this thing is going to push to have him basically cut off from pretty much from everything. So we know he's lost his titles, he can't use his name, he can't do all of that, but he is still, and I did check this morning when I looked at the you know, who would be next in line, he is still in 8th place. He's still there. So I'm predicting that there will be an active petition made to wherever it needs to go, either to the PM or directly to Parliament, but that is coming, and that's going to be coming pretty quickly. They're going to want to distance themselves from him. They will need to ask his brother as well to say, this is what we're doing. We're going to be bringing this through, you know, push it through all the various channels as quickly as possible. Get a wiggle on, because when this turns sour, it's going to be unbelievably sour.
There was a strange story, and I know I didn't send you this one, and you know, I've not asked you about this one before, but a guy that Prince Andrew calls his best pal, Mogens Tolstrup, went down in a plane crash earlier this month in South Africa and ended up in intensive care. And this guy was partying hardcore with Andrew and models, etc. Before Andrew went full on with Jeffrey. And you know, people are suspicious that this guy Mogens probably knows a lot of secrets about Andrew as well, and this plane crash is no coincidence. What's your instinct telling you on that one, Beverli?
I think, you know, what with my significant background in dealing with these types of people, and, you know, knowing those that I knew and when I did those 9 years of issues, that this has got the stamp and the classic stamp of, you know, we're worried that you're going to open your mouth, mate, so we're just going to take you out. If you're lying in ICU somewhere, you're not going to be able to talk about anything, and no one will believe you because maybe your memory's a bit fading, you know, because of the accident. And this is always the way that they do this. They always make sure that they have a way to look at your reputation and annihilate it. So this person, I think, that you've got on the screen, I think that, you know, he is definitely, he's been what they call a shot over the bow. They will, when you're in this type of world, they will warn you. So that would be a warning. The next time you're not going to be warned, mate, you're going to be 6 feet under. So I don't think he will come out and say anything against Andrew. because I think he's accepted the warning and he'll back off.
Yeah, this is the South African friend, his best pal, apparently, Andrew's best pal. And we've been researching the story, and there's no further news about him, no information coming out about him. It's been completely suppressed. And what we did find out, though, is this guy, Moans, was dating Lady Victoria Hervey.
Oh, no surprise there.
Yep. So it's just one big incestuous circle, indeed.
Absolutely.
But apparently Moans is still alive. He was in intensive care, and that's all that we know. There's no update on this one. So yes, Andrew certainly knows the stakes because of this. So that's that question asked. Now, let's see. Okay, so Fields of Gold. Bev, can you tell if there's any life in the young girl on the floor with Andy? Is she in or out of consciousness? I'll get that one back up on the screen. Let's see, where is it?
Thanks for that question, Fields of Gold. That's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, it's there's not much of it showing on this photo. If I can, there's so many bloody photos open right now. If I can find it, but you know, if you look at Andrew's face on this one versus his post-release face. I mean, his demon looks like it's in full flow there to me, Beverli.
It is full flow. Yeah, you're getting good, Shaun, at recognizing when the demons have incorporated with the human body. That is exactly what that is, because that smacks of the same thing of him sitting in the back car of the vehicle. You know, you could see he had exactly the same look on his face. So when that look comes, you know it's not Andrew. It's whatever the thing is, the Duke level demon. That's what's there. But yes, I think that there is from what I can see, there is an energy field around her. So I do think that she's definitely alive. She's not unalive. She definitely is alive.
Thank you for the super chat, Max. We're going to be getting to Leslie Wexner's Dybbuk here soon. We're just doing Andrew first. So if you've got any questions pertaining to Andrew, get them in the chat. And Susan wants to know if Andrew may have a similar fate as Princess Diana.
Well, from when I started doing the remote viewing over him, the one of the past, because with these royal families, they never get given one path of destiny. There's not one timeline. So I can tune into them in the morning, and then something they will choose, free will, they will choose to do something unsavory, and that will change the timeline. So with his timeline, there is a possibility that there would be a similar type of ending, but it is somebody that has actually, it would be what they call a high level hit. They will call for him to be removed, but that's only if he starts singing like a jaybird. If he starts singing and talking about stuff, then that's it. He would have sealed his fate. And that's why his energies are so weird right now, because he really does not know which way to go, because he doesn't have his mum with him anymore to be able to tell him, look, this is what we should do. This is how we should play this. And I think he does know that Charlie boy knew months ago that he was going to be arrested. So and that's just make him hate him even more.
Susan's also asking, is it, I think she's asking, is it an underage girl on the floor or is it a young woman?
It's not an underage, it's a young woman.
All right. So we had this statement then from Charles. Let's see if I can find it. And to me, it just rang a bit hollow. There he is. I'll put his face up there, and I will read it to you. King Charles statement: Andrew arrested. Because I've said it, on previous streams. It reminded me of when the Clintons' brother got arrested, and they had a crisis meeting, and they just turned it to their advantage, saying we're not above the law. But they would have protected him if they had a chance, but it was outed to the media, so they couldn't stop it from getting out there. So I'll read you what the king said about Andrew's arrest. I've learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair and proper process by which the issue is investigated in the appropriate manner by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. As this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further on this matter. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all. Charles R. All right, so I've got a series of questions for you about that statement.
Okay.
The first one is, did he even write that? Or was it done by, written for him?
I didn't see any of the usual his usual speak that he would have used before. Don't see any of that in that. I think that he was given that to approve, but I think somebody else wrote that for him and said, is this good enough, you know? And then he would have said yes or no, or changed something minor, but I don't see the type of language that he would have used. I don't see that in that statement, no.
All right, so the first line then, he's saying he's learned with deep concern the news about the arrest. He's acting as if he's only just found out. Is that true or not?
No, I didn't get that energy from him. I did two drawings, one of him and one of Camilla last year, actually, around about November, December time, and they did have a very strange lot of energy. He was already aware last year, December time in 2025, he knew that at some point this year there would be an arrest that would go forward. But he also knew it was not for SRA or CA or transportation of any type. He also knew that it was going to be procedural incorrectness. So in other words, procedurally sharing information where he shouldn't have shared it, that would be his downfall. He knew that as well. And very cleverly, when I looked at his energy just said, there's many ways to skin a cat, and we're going to skin this cat in a different way, because if he had agreed to this level of investigation into his brother for the other references, you know, the Epstein connection as well as SRA and all these other aspects, he knew full well that would not stick. But he does know of procedural incorrectness. He knows personally of that, and that stands a far better chance to stick than the others. I mean, look at how they got Capone and others. I mean, tax evasion, how simple is that? But, you know, the law is the law. And that's why he's very purposely said the law must run its course. Yes, because there will be evidence, and there is a load of evidence in the files, the Epstein files, loads of evidence. And I think that they will very shortly start uncovering all the PDFs and all of the information and what was being sent backwards and forwards. It's possible, very possible, that at one of his houses that he has actually got some of the printed out information that he should not have kept. It's possible that he just needs one of them to be there, and then that will definitely cause a defined criminal investigation where he will become a person of interest. And that's still to come. It's going to happen.
Well, even though it is a procedural allegation, if it does indeed go to court, it is an aggravating circumstance when it comes to your sentencing if your payment for giving this information out was of a sexual nature. So, so that side of his alleged activities may get entered into court at some point anyway, which I find interesting. And it's also an aggravating circumstance if you've done it more than once. Correct.
Yes. And I think there's quite a few survivors that were part of the, payment and making good upon whatever it was he was involved with. I mean, you just have to just follow the money in this case. Follow the money, because the women, wine, woman, and song will become very obvious, because there's just follow the money and you'll see exactly where that goes. But at the same time, you're going to find that there will be pressure put on the Ghislaine Maxwell issue, because she's always claimed that she could get him out of this spot of bother. So there might be something on the side that comes up with her once she's out, which will be this year quite soon. I think she's going to be coming out because her whole energy has changed. I reckon if we're lucky, we might even get to hear that she gets to see Easter at home, or she gets to see one of the big celebrations at home in her own place, because she's changed completely. If you look at what she used to look like in the previous prison to the one that she's in now in Texas, she's changed her hair, she's changed her way, she's wearing the drop earrings, she's doing her yoga, she's petting the pooches, she's doing all of that. So this is what she used to look like. But if you look at her with her deposition and where she was questioned, she's got that short cropped boyish hair back to her usual self. Immediately that energy told me her energy's changed, she's getting out of there, and she will. Something is going to happen that will give her the freedom that she needs.
Yeah, you're talking about these changes. There's actually a video out there. I don't know if it's AI or what. A lot of these things circulate, showing a woman. I know there's a lot of speculation about this one online right now. I'll just put it up there, but I don't know if it's see this woman on the left, that someone's videoed this woman on the left in the free world, claiming that it's Maxwell. But anyway, I'm just putting it up there for people to see and take what they want from it. All right, so we've got a question here then, from Max. Actually, sorry, not the Max one. Let me go down. Here we go. In a leaked email from Andrew, he stated he wanted to return to Jeffrey's Island as his pet. Could Andrew have been acting as his demonic dog in the photo?
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, that could be very possible. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Next question is, how do dukes feed, and what do they feed on besides energy?
All types of energy, any type of energy they like. They are, in a way, kind of like an energy vampire, but because they are high level, they also feed, you're not going to like this, they also feed on sex energy, particularly. So when the act is happening, and particularly if there is an act that's happening with a minor or small person, then that is part of the food that they would have. But also they would be looking for some form of payment, i.e. with unaliving small people, small animals, but they're not too keen on the animals. They prefer the small people. And I think if you look at the amount of individuals in the Epstein files, there is a lot of information about the youngsters that have given birth either prematurely or have given birth and the progeny has been removed from their site immediately. So this is the sort of thing that would be the preferred method, if you know what I mean.
Well, you're touching on a subject area that I've got to weigh my words very carefully, because I'm watching some researchers who've combed through the emails. They're talking about hunting events, let's just say, and they're referring to people of color as well, I'm not even going to repeat it. You should be sensitive. But apparently these are people being targeted at these hunting events, and Jeffrey's emailing the Rothschilds, etc. I mean, people have been called nutcases for talking about this stuff years ago.
Yeah.
But some researchers are saying that these code words in these emails are confirming, what we theorized about many years ago. Do you think these researchers are interpreting these emails correctly, or do you think they're reaching to draw these conclusions?
It depends what conclusion they have been pushed to create. We all know, I particularly factually from personal experience, I know that the hunts take place. Because when I was of no further use to those that I was serving, I then became a cleaner. So, and that is a person that takes a bucket and gloves and cloths and whatever. And once the hunt is finished, you go and scoop up whatever is lying on the floor, wherever it is, so that they clean up after themselves. So hunting is a thing. It does exist. I know all the places around the world, including South Africa, Germany, Denmark. There are places in all these places that people get moved to in order to either participate or to clean up or to service individuals. So that is definitely part of it. But there are certain code words that are quite strange. And unless you've been involved in that world, some of the code words, I can promise you, you will have no idea what you're reading. And that's why I think some of these researchers, they're fantastic. They're very good at unearthing things, but they don't, because they're not directly involved with it, and they haven't been the ones that have had to put up with that for 9 years. They don't really know all of the words, and there isn't a dictionary out there that you can say, well, that means X, Y, and Z, and that bit means whatever. Well, only one word that is correct is hunt, and the hunt is a hunt of individuals, not wild boar, not giraffe, not lions. It's of us, basically.
Yeah, and I think one of the references was to the most dangerous game, and then we saw Epstein, ordering all of the barrels of acid to, you could dissolve. We also saw the trap door that goes directly into the ocean. Have you seen the picture of the trap door yet, Beverli?
I haven't seen a picture of the trap door, but that is it's very common for all of these individuals that participate in these events. So yeah, well, there you go. Uh-huh.
What kind of energy does that have? That's at the island into the ocean.
Into the ocean, yeah. That's obviously an escape hatch of some sort. It's also it would be good if they were able to scan or take samples of what's around the edges, because I think that they would find that there would be bodily fluids and other items around that hatch.
All right, and let me see. There was well, we're not going to. Well, let's. There's a few more questions on Andrew before I jump to WEXNER. All right,
Okay.
so how do you think Andrew got the demon? Did he invite it in, or has it attached itself to him without his consent, or something else?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I would say based on the amount of years that he has had this Duke level walking with him, I think that this was an initiation when he was a youngster, either 13 or 14, so his own path of destiny would have had to have kicked in. So he was able then to invite whatever was necessary to walk with him. I think that it wasn't one that entered his body in as without a consent. This was a consensual one, because he was always a favorite. He was, he was of blue blood. He was his mother's favorite child, and he felt that he wanted more. And that's the issue with Andrew, is he always wants more. He always wants to be the top of the pile. He always wants to be the best. He always wants, it basically is just a want. So it's an ideal breeding ground for a Duke level demon, because they don't have to do that much work. Not really.
All right. Next question is from Marie. Is his demonic aura linked to his narcissism, or has he always been demonic?
I had a look at I looked at some baby pictures. There was nothing in the baby pictures. I looked at him as a wee one, a little one. I think he was about maybe 3 or 4. He was little. Nothing when he was 4. I looked right through at any publicly available pictures, right up until he was an early teenager, so 13, 14. Then 15, There was a complete change. So I think, in my view, that it was definitely something that attached itself to him with his consent around 13, 14 years old.
Max, I feel like they are slaves for these demons and they get tortured if they don't appease their demons by doing wicked things. Or is it just to get some earthly power, or both?
Now, that's a good one, Max. They do feel, when you see these attachments that are attached to individuals, it is in a way a type of soul slavery. I mean, the goal is the soul. It's always been that. And this is how these people work. So when you start looking at, SRA and how it is done and who it is done in honor of, which is the bull, shall we say, we know we're talking about, begins with a B, ends with an L. That aspect is always the soul is their goal. The more souls they can have and the more they can corrupt an individual, the better it is for them. But he was at a point where I think he had wanted so much, and his ego and his aspect was so high that he agreed to whatever the Duke was going into him. And once they're in there, they're awful to get out. And once they've been in a human for 7 years, that is known as full possession. So there are charts of different levels of possession and what they are and how they are. I won't bore you with that. But basically, because he has had this Duke energy walking with him for over 7 years, he is what we would say an individual that is fully possessed now.
Wow. Okay, I've just put my microphone onto full volume, so hopefully you guys can hear me a bit louder now. And here's the next one. Jerry, are most of the ultra-rich in the cult of Baal?
Oh, well, that's good. You called it out there, Jerry. Yes, it is Baal. It is the cult of Baal. Most, I would say most, yes. Ones that I had met when I had to do the 9 years. In fact, in that day, there wasn't really anyone that was at any of the country house or any of the other houses. They were all pretty much in it to get what they could out of it. So, yeah, most of them, the ultra-rich, I don't know anybody at this stage. Actually, I'm thinking about it. I don't know anybody that is ultra-rich at this stage that is actually not in this particular type of case, or very close to it, or at least going through maybe some of the rainbow rooms, the rainbow rooms where they have to plead allegiance and do various things in order to show that they are totally and utterly prepared to sacrifice themselves and do whatever is necessary. So, yeah, I would say most.
Well, you can just look at Andrew's face, and you just instinctively can tell that he's going through there's demonic energy. I mean, that looks like the demon backed into a corner, and this other one looks like demon in full flow. The question, and the question is, how does someone know if they're demon possessed? It's just something that you can intuitively sense, isn't it, by looking at the person? Or
you can do it that way. That's an excellent way, because your own energy body will react if there is a source of darkness or dark energy around you. When you're there and you get those like prickly things up the back of your neck, and you say, "Oh, that feels a bit weird. Why am I feeling weird?" That's your inner senses, your chakra points, all your toroidal field, your body closing in to protect you. Because we are sovereign souls. We have free will. We can protect our souls. We don't need to put up with these demons. But with him specifically, what I did, a little trick I do, is I've got the photograph of him, but then I take one side and I close it off to see. And you will see when you do this, the two sides on each side are totally, totally different. And that is one of the best little tricks that I've used for the last 44 years. Is the first thing I'll do is ask for a photograph of the person and then check before I even do a remote view, before I even pop in to go and see what the energy is like. I will check to see, are they totally equal? Do they look like the same person? on both sides of the photograph. And in the Andrew and also the Les Wexner, and certainly in the Epstein photographs, it is very obvious there's two different entities in one body. I think you might be on mute. So Natalie was saying, looking at his translucent red right eye, suggesting anger, light mode, and this narrow, exvasive left eye of hidden emotions. Could this indicate weakness from the SATAN person because of the worldwide light and fight for justice? Yes, I think there's a lot of light warriors, there's a lot of light bridges, there are a lot of energy individuals that are just doing mantras every day and sitting and doing pujas and doing the prayers and sending the light. And of course, we've had 3i Atlas that has brought a lot of light onto the planet as well. And we've had a lot of the solar flares that have come about. So all of that will bring about those that are working directly with the dark. They are starting to get afraid because the light is coming up. There is a new way that's going to come forward, and that is a light way.
All right, so I've just did a mic reset, so hopefully my audio is better now.
I can hear you now.
Good. Why do these demons thrive on Earth? Where is God or the counterbalance to these demons?
That's a good one. The God energy, I can comment on that definitely. Over the last few months, I have seen more angelics and more angelic light beings coming down here. And there's been a lot of individuals that have been awoken or awakening to the light and realizing how they can be of service to the light. So the God energy is definitely sending more of his angels and more of the light beings to come and help us with what we're all going through down here. But this is part of the awakening. It is part of us, being able to use our souls and be part of what we want to do because we are sovereign souls, and allow ourselves to make the decisions, because free will is still there. The only issue we have is when there's a demon attached, it pressurizes you to make a decision, the decision that it wants. So it's not total free will after all, because we are sovereign souls.
So Monique's asking whether he invited it in or it attached without his consent.
He did invite it in because he did feel that he needed to have the edge. He needed to have something that would be more than his brother, more than everyone else that was around. And that's why he asked for that, because the Duke level, they're very powerful. They can make all sorts of promises. And that's exactly what that thing did. It promised him all sorts and expected to deliver. And that thing has delivered. The demon has delivered a lot. But there's one or two things that it didn't deliver. Andrew asked for a son. He didn't get a son. He had 2 girls instead. So that's one of the promises that the Duke level demon said he would deliver, but he didn't.
All right, we can come back to Andrew, but I want to get over to Wexner because, with Andrew, he's not acknowledged that he has a demon. But Wexner, who's a huge enabler and co-conspirator with Epstein, who gave Epstein the property that was all cameraed up in New York, the honey trap property. Wexner, who was working with the CIA, Southern Air Transport, American Airlines, transporting weapons, people, kilos of white powder around the world, documented investigations into these airlines. Wexner, who it has been alleged, when Epstein was honey trapping Bill Clinton, Wexner was facilitating the shipping of the technology to China. Wexner, who was involved with the Limited, made his billions from these companies, and now just got interviewed this week and just is pretending to be a senile octogenarian who barely even knew Epstein and wasn't even his friend. Anyway, WEXNER, when he was trying to boost his public, the public's perception of him, I think this was back in the 1980s, he admitted in an interview that he was demon possessed. So yeah, ex-Prince Andrew, this is not something he would acknowledge, perhaps,
No.
but WEXNER has completely acknowledged that he's demon possessed, and this is it's called a Dybbuk. It goes back to folklore, where this is a malevolent attachment from a deceased person that WEXNER claimed was driving him on relentlessly to take over companies, and it made him restless. And this is an evil thing that he was just completely owning up to. What the hell do you make of that, Beverli?
I think that it's his only way in which he is able to bring about the changes that he wants to see happen is by calling it out and saying what it is. Yes, it is what we would call an ancestral demonic possession, which means that this ancestral one has been passed down and passed down and passed down and passed down through generations. So Herbie has got this issue with the demon, and only by calling it out and saying, this is what I've got, this is what's with me, this is what I have to put up with, he's hoping to pull back some of his energy and to become the person that he was before. Very, very difficult. So I'm surprised that he did it, but he did it out of desperation. And also, at least it means that if he does end up with a charge brought against him, which I think there will be some charges, depends entirely about what Andrew has to say and others, but they will find in the Epstein files, there's a lot of information that is going to be mined out of all that data. But WEXNER most definitely is utilizing the demonic side on a daily basis because he's got to feed it. And in order to feed it, he needs youngsters. He needs individuals that can get angry or upset or feel that they're totally disassociated or feel that they've got nothing left to continue walking in this earthly 3D realm anymore. He's been doing that for years. He's 88 years old. And when I looked at his energy body this morning, I thought, no, this guy has been at this nonsense for over 50 years.
So Epstein had a portrait of WEXNER's Dybbuk on the wall at the property. I'm going to show Beverli 2 pictures of it, and then while Beverli contemplates the second picture, I'm going to read the quote from the magazine that WEXNER did the interview with, just to back up what I said earlier. So if you see that little portrait at the back of WEXNER on the wall there, and I will show an enlargement of that portrait. There is the enlargement of the portrait. So this is, Epstein's got the picture of Clinton in his bloody blue dress.
Yeah.
He's got a portrait of WEXNER's Dybbuk. And what I'll do now is I'll read what WEXNER said.
Oh, brilliant.
To the New York magazine. It was called The Bachelor Billionaire on Pins and Needles with Leslie WEXNER, August 5th, 1985. So this is what the journalist wrote, at least. All right, so on the morning Leslie WEXNER became a billionaire, he woke up worried. But this was not unusual. He always wakes up worried because of his Dybbuk, which pokes and prods and gives him the itchiness of the soul that he calls I can't even pronounce it. Pins, anyway. It is the translation. Sometimes he runs away from it on the roads of Columbus, or drives away from it in one of his Porsches, or flies from it in one of his planes, but then it is back with his first coffee, his first meeting, nudging at him. The name of the Dybbuk that lashed itself around Leslie WEXNER's soul when he was 4 years old was, and it's a long one, folks. I'm going to put it on the screen.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can. Let's see. Can I copy and paste this? Accept cookies. I'll try and pronounce it, but I'm going to get laughed at, I think. Faramashikiyotl is what it's saying here.
Oh,
I'll put
that's
this on.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
Jewish.
it's an
It's from
ancestral
Jewish.
one. Ancestral then.
It's from Jewish folklore.
Yeah.
And there it is on the screen. That is the nickname of his Dybbuk. The name of the Dybbuk when he was 4 years old. That is the name of the Dybbuk that attached itself to him, that rode him, that thrashed him, that pushed him towards certain dark alliances and skin-tithed exchanges. When he spoke of it to himself, Leslie Wexner, the man, spoke sparingly and always in walk-around tones, except for two mentions, both in 1985, first to a national magazine and a few months later to a smaller publication, mainly to clarify his earlier statements. And then there's an article here. It's like a Substack, Hebrew horror. I'll put the link in the description. So if people want to research this, because he gives a very long breakdown of the and there's a picture of it here. Picture of it and Wexner and in demonic form, and I'll put that one on the screen as well. So, but full credit to Hebrew horror for researching this. What do you make of that picture, Beverli?
Yeah, I think it's about right. The mouth could be bigger, but yeah, that's pretty much what they look like when you see them. When we're doing when we're doing demonic clearings and things, we see this sort of thing all the time, particularly with the eyes. They're sunken and they're dark, and their mouth doesn't even look human at the end of the day, particularly. But yeah, that's pretty close. That's a really good representation. I think he's had enough. I really do. I think that Herbie's had it. He's just had enough of it. I don't think he remembers half of what he's witnessed, because in his deposition that he made, his statement, he basically said that, oh, I never saw anything and no knowledge of Epstein's criminal activity, and I never was a participant or co-conspirator. I think that he possibly has no clue, but this Dybbuk that's walking with him will have full knowledge. So I think that there is this disassociation and split personality, where the one personality is the thing, that demon, and the other one is Les. So you've got Les Wexner on the one side, you've got Herbie on the other.
And just as a quick aside, we'll get back to the demon in a minute. So a huge story was that, Wexner, he got interviewed in his palatial home, and he's got his lawyer. You see the sly-eyed guy in the top left-hand corner looking down upon him, making sure that Wexner doesn't say anything out of the script, the New World Order script. But Wexner does start overstepping a line, and his lawyer whispers to him, but the camera hears it. This is just insane. I'm going to play it anyway and get your thoughts, Beverli.
Okay, thank you. Oh, so we now know who his handler is. His handler is the lawyer. Did you see that energy exchange? The lawyer is the handler. Oh, my agony aunt. There it is.
Did you hear what the lawyer said?
Yeah, I will kill you. Yes, that's there. Yeah, he's the handler.
If he said, if you use more than 5 words, in your answer, I will effing unalive you.
Yeah. Wow. So the lawyer is the handler. That is true handler fashion. I know. I had 3 handler fashions in my life, and they would do exactly that. If they wanted something to be done immediately, they would pull in and say something directly into your ear. Usually they sit on the left, so that because the left ear is the one that they have the most power over, not the right one. Because when they push you out, when they cause that break in your psyche, you move out to the right and you sit on the right. And then whatever it is that's coming on the left, the demon entity, that's what's speaking. So it's very interesting. I'm glad I've seen that because, yep, that man is his handler. So he's threatened him. Yeah. So I think he's had enough.
He's threatened him on live TV with everybody watching. I mean, how much more obvious can it be that this is a controlled situation? And if WEXNER was completely innocent, why would this guy be leaning in, threatening to unalive him if he said more than 5 words? He's just basically said, to the whole world, we are guilty, and I'm not going to let my client convict himself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. The other thing, having a look at WEXNER's energy body now, Herbie is not dealing with the energy body of Les WEXNER particularly well. So what worries me about him is that his energy is decreasing. Also, there is something else that's brewing within his body. So I think that this Duke level entity has caused like a repercussions of energy that's coming, because you can see this energy is going up, and you, as was rightly said here, WEXNER started to choke up. Yes, he would start to choke up because just like Andrew, the throat chakra, that is what is attacked. They're going to try to stop him from talking.
This is a very pertinent question from Happy. Who controls the handler? Well, this whole story, what we have been saying is there is a huge apparatus operating globally, involved in the transportation of humans and other things. And this apparatus was utilizing honey traps through Epstein, who was nowhere near the top of this apparatus. WEXNER, Maria Farmer said WEXNER, was above Jeffrey in this apparatus. And this apparatus views all these people as expendable if they become liabilities for them. So, who controls the handler? The handler, this lawyer guy, he's just another cog in the apparatus.
Correct. Yeah, she's just a handler. I think that there would be others, when I looked at him particularly, I wanted to see, because I like to follow the money when I'm doing the research. And I wanted to see where would this entity have come from? How would this entity have grown? And I think that the Aunt Ida, who personally funded the Les WEXNER early days, where she gave him a loan of this money in 1963 to be able to do the work that he wanted to do and start an empire. I think that it was from the maternal side of the bloodline, where if you check genetically back, that the Aunt Ida would have been the one that this particular being, this demon entity, I think it was attached to her side of the family. But that's something that I can do. I can do more research on that. So I will look up Aunt Ida and see, because she gave him $5,000, which was a lot of money in those days in 1963, for him to start his company, the Limited Stores. So he had really demonic money right from the beginning. So I think that 1963, they had a significant energetic and frequency hold over Herbie, i.e. Les WEXNER. And that has come from the Aunt Ida side of the family.
So another thing that used to be considered a huge conspiracy theory was when people talked about, the Rothschilds cartel and how much power they had in the world and how much wealth, etc., and influence. And WEXNER acknowledges that it was one of the Rothschilds who referred Jeffrey to him. Mm-hmm. And then you've got all these emails between Jeffrey and the Rothschilds, and millions going to Jeffrey from them, documented. So it looks like within this apparatus that famous banking family are hugely above WEXNER and Jeffrey and play an important part in the machine.
Yeah, well, very definitely. And also remember that, the Les Wexner individual has been trying to push that he lives his life in an ethical manner and that he's got his own moral compass. His moral compass, from his energy body, with the amount of red that's on it, his energy body shows and betrays him by saying, that started like age 25. So his moral compass has been a bit squiffy since he was about 25 years old.
Absolutely. And let me see, we've got tons more questions have come in. All right, let's see. Thank you for all the questions. And also, please don't forget to sub to Beverli's channel as well. The link is in the description box.
Thank you, Shaun.
So let's see which is the next one we should go with. Trying to find one that we won't get us in trouble. Do you have any sympathy for people like Andrew? Perhaps he suffered as a child.
I do have sympathy from him, about him and about where he came from, because I think as a little one, as a young lad, I think that he was just unaware of what was going on around him. You know, he was allowed to grow up and be his own person and do whatever was necessary. But he was given the choices in his life at a very early age. I mean, 13, 14 is very young to make decisions of this type. But also I think that a lot of people around him were much, much older than him. So, you know, you've got individuals on both sides of the track, particularly Philip and others, but as well as Charlie Boy too. They were all much older. They'd already gone through the initiation. They'd already gone through what is necessary, pledging allegiance and doing all of those good things. And he was very young. He did not know not really. He did not know what he was getting himself into. I don't think it's too late for him to come clean about everything. But I think he will know, he will have to know that if he spills the beans, which is highly unlikely, if he spills the beans, there comes a payment for that. And that means that the Duke level demon will require his life, his soul. Now, we know that that's what they're after. The goal is the soul, so that's what they're trying for. He can get out of it. Yes, I do have some sympathy with him. And I think that this has made him extremely angry, because I think finally now, with all the pictures we're seeing, Andrew realizes that he has been used and that he will be the person that goes down for and on behalf of the entire royal family.
All right. So thank you for all the questions coming in. We've got almost 5,000 watching, and I've probably missed loads of questions that have come in so far. So if you've put a question in and I've missed it, just keep putting it back in until I get it. Now, there were some items that Kirby Summers showed us.
Okay.
On the WEXNER property.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of them. This is a burn pit. Burn marks inside an alleged sacrifice pit. Are you picking up any energies from that, Beverli?
That's both. Yeah, that's animals and animals and other types of remains to be destroyed from a hunt. But very cleverly, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a flower, and it's got the stalk and the two leaves at the bottom. If you have a look, there's two leaves at the bottom, the two green bits coming up, and then it has the flower in the middle. So that's very typical of the end of a cycle, the end of the flower that starts again, the rebirth that starts again. Yeah, so they would be. That's very common for anyone of royalty or anyone that is particularly extremely wealthy. The high value individuals, they all have burn pits. They all have areas where they dispose of waste. They do put a lot into the ground, which is really, could end up being a biohazard. But yeah, they do dig very big pits and fill the pits with all sorts of waste. So I think that when individuals start digging in certain places, I think they're going to find all sorts of things, like, for instance, on Epstein's ranch, if they can start digging before it gets raised to the ground, because obviously they are going to demolish the entire ranch, and that's destroying a lot of evidence.
So this is on Wexner's property, which is in Ohio.
Mhm.
Here's another photo, but the description, we had to black it out because it wasn't within YouTube's community guidelines.
Okay.
And here's another one as well. And you know, when we interviewed Maria Farmer years ago, she said she was essayed and R-worded at the Wexner property, and she called the local police, and their response was, "We're already there. We're guarding the property for Leslie Wexner." So there was nothing she could do. She was just trapped,
No.
and then you see these burn pits and stuff, and it just makes it double scary to think about what could have potentially happened to some people.
Yes,
So,
quite easily too.
all right, so we've got several more questions have come in about Wexner as well. Are you able to see what may be expected next for Wexner after he may have spoken too much? Yeah, so what's in store for Wexner after his lawyer leant over and told him he was going to effing unalive him?
Well, I think that the one thing that's very clear is that they are going to, those that are managing him, so that means the lawyer who is his handler, they will find a way in which to manage the message or the narrative that comes out of him. I'm expecting the damage to be significant to him bodily because he's gone against whatever it is the handler's asking him to do. And I can tell you from personal experience that when you get to a point where you've had enough and you don't care anymore, you will go against what your handler says. But I can tell you the punishment after that is significant. So he is going to be punished, and he will have aspects where it might come out in his health. It might come out in his mental health. It might come out in ways in which he does not look like he, is fully aware of all of his attributes, or whether he's in control of all of his senses. So there's different things that could come out in him. Remember, we are dealing with a very high upper demon that is a duke level. They're not easy to get rid of. Sometimes can take 2 or 3 goes at exorcising them. So whatever is there is going to make things very unpleasant because he's not cooperating. Because what he did in that clip was, when he was told by his handler, the lawyer, if you use more than 5 words, and the rest of it, he actually went ahead and used more than 5 words. So he's in a whole heap of trouble.
All right, so the next question then, which is on the screen, can you see them searching any of the royal estates or golf courses?
I think that they will search other areas when they find representation, or they find in the narrative of what they've already found and uncovered from other searches, when there is particular properties that are mentioned, they will then, the authorities will then request to search specific properties, because they will be mentioned either in the Epstein files or in the documents that they've been able to pick up from Andrew's various properties.
All right, so next question is, did you foresee the world being this bad?
Yeah, I kind of thought it would be this bad, when I arrived, when I started doing the work that I did from a very young age for 9 years. Anything else, being out of that, anything else is better than that. So, I mean, this is bad, yes, but it will turn out to be a lovely place later, once all of the issues with the dark ones have been dealt with.
A few people have asked how you think Virginia passed.
I think that she was made to pass. I think that there was those that were hovering around her. I picked up there was other individuals around her at the time and helped her on her way. I don't believe that it was that she had decided to unalive herself. I don't see that at all. I think that she was helped along her way.
And do you think Lady Victoria Hervey trolling Virginia played a role in that process?
I think it must have played a role because of the certain types of words that she was using. And I think, as a survivor myself, there are some words that even no matter how much you've healed, there are still some words that will really, make you really upset and allow you to become heartbroken. And I think that was part of the ploy and part of the plan.
People are saying WEXNER's going to go down. Well, so far he's been untouchable. Victoria's Secret is riding high. What's the other one? Bath and Body Works is one of his.
Bath and Body Works. Yep.
The Limited and CoreWeave is his most recent one. He's made, I think, over $1 billion in bloody CoreWeave, an AI company.
Yeah.
So he's pretending he's in his 80s and senile. Well, he's still making hella money for someone who's not got his faculties left.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And he's, he likes to pretend that he's this, worldwide, international, charitable benefactor. They've given them and their family, the WEXNER family, have given over $1 billion here, there, and everywhere. That people need to look further into what were the relationships, how he was allowing individuals like, disgraced financier, old Jeff Epstein, all of those things. If he had felt that he really was a benefactor, that he really was a philanthropist, he would have seen through what was happening from individuals around him, and yet he didn't.
So where do these demons come from? So in the case of the Dybbuk, Beverli, doesn't it come from someone who's deceased?
Yes, I had thought that it came from one of the aunts. It was from the maternal line. It was not from the paternal line. There was one that came from the mother's line, the bloodline. So I think it has come from them particularly, because they can. There's certain types of demons that can pass generationally. They can. And this is where you hear of things like, generational curses or generational issues or generational attachments or possessions. And this is one of them, is that there is a generation that has caused this particular issue to come about, and more so, it has moved itself into the next level of generation. So not like Andrew's one, where Andrew said, yes, work with me. I would like to be able to be better than I am. It's totally different with the Les Herbie WEXNER person. He had this coming in from his ancestral line coming back. So really, I doubt very much whether he would have had any choice in the matter, because it was generational, belongs to his bloodline.
Shivan wants to know, what do you think made WEXNER so talkative during his deposition?
I think it was the Duke level demon that wanted to be heard and wanted to cause a lot of chaos. And previously, I think that he had been pressurized within himself, and because when you look at him, he kind of shrivels himself up and he sort of hides himself away. And then what's very interesting, he then has this very boyish, this boyish sort of, well, stuff you type of thing. I'm going to do da 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 da. He has, if you look at him very closely, you can see that his hands are like this, and then he starts getting all boyish. His energy changes completely. He becomes like a naughty lad that's gone and kicked a football through your window, or has shoved a cricket ball through the window, and he's like, oh, yes. So he's returning back to his juvenile state, which is probably when the Duke level demon would have entered into him. So if you have a look very closely to some of that footage, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
So this question ties into a guest we had on the other night, Beverli, who was an autopsy expert, and he's encountered many corpses throughout his career, and he was surprised that Epstein had a tattoo on his arm at one point in time, but it wasn't on the corpse, and Epstein's ears didn't match the ears on the slab. And Carol is asking, do you think that Epstein could still be alive?
It is possible that Epstein could still be alive, yes. If the ears don't match, then it probably was someone who was meant to be a body double. The tattoo, people do wear a lot of these fake tattoos a lot of the time. I mean, occasionally I will stick on a fake tattoo just to see what it would look like. And they do look quite real. But the ears is the biggest issue. If your ears, or like your fingerprints, or like your irises of your eyes for biometrics, your ears do not change. Your ears are your ears, and that's it. So if the person was saying that the ears don't match, then it is probable that the Epstein individual would have been moved or changed or swapped out at some point. But if that is the case, it's unlikely that we would see anything of the Epstein that was. He would then be created as a new person. He'd be given a fake identity. He would be moved to somewhere else. He would be changed, completely changed. The only thing that could happen is his issue with having massages with young people. That might trip him up, because that's something you can't change.
Yeah, and I think there's someone found some statement by Epstein or something that he'd said, talking about his tattoo as well, to corroborate that he did actually have one at one point in time. So it's really strange, these anomalies, and he may very well be having a margarita on some island with Kenneth Lay, who also never made it to trial. So Elle wants to know, why would a seemingly regular person have a handler?
Well, regular people, there's lots of regular people that have handlers. Depends what type of work they're involved with. I mean, I know regular people that just work in the day-to-day fields, and they have a handler because of their background, their bloodline, or the type of work that they've been chosen to do. So there's all of that. There's all of that gives you a reason for why someone would have a handler. Most definitely. There are many different reasons why a handler would be assigned.
Can you hear a strange audio thing right now? Oh, it stopped. All right. So, can generations of Masons cause generational demons to attach themselves to their lineage?
Yeah, most definitely. If that is a particular line of individuals that could benefit them the most, then absolutely. In fact, that goes for any type of secret society or any type of arranged society that has a different rule set and a rule set for themselves. It's the same sort of thing. We see this in many different areas, with my other company called the Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters often get called out to come and check a particular place, and then we ask the questions. These are all the types of questions we ask. Has the person been involved with? And we list a whole bunch of different types of societies. And if it is one or two of the ones that are most prolific, then we know kind of what we're dealing with.
Was WEXNER an Illuminatus? And I'll put the contemporary definition of that up on the screen. Is the Latin plural of Illuminatus, meaning enlightened or illuminated. It refers to individuals claiming special, superior, or hidden knowledge. Yeah,
he did claim, and he does still claim and maintain that he has superior knowledge. And this is one of the reasons why he says he's one of these philanthropists and does as much as he does here, there, and everywhere, because he believes that he is one of the illuminated ones.
Wasn't Wexner's lawyer back in the 80s rumored to have been unalived by the Genovese family? Yeah, I think he was a lawyer for the Limited, and he was about to do some kind of testimony, and he didn't make it. And I think Wexner ended up as his name came up in the investigation. Let's just put it that way. So, thoughts on Naomi Campbell, who seems untouchable? I mean, Naomi Campbell has popped up all over the place.
I'm not surprised. Well, not with that energy. Good Lord.
some of these super predator investigations. What you're referring to her energy, and what is her energy, Beverli?
Her energy is one where she has done all and everything possible in order to be able to get her to become an untouchable. We use that in air quotes, because her energy is of that type, that no matter what, she would remain in the clear. So she's got the right people at the right level, with the right level of power to keep her safe. The one thing she's very good at is me. She's very good at making sure that I, myself, and we will survive. We will be at the top of the hanger pile. That's where she is. So yes, she is untouchable at the moment, unless there's a lot more evidence that comes out that can actually tell you what she's doing, because she's been part and parcel of all of this for a very long time.
Oh, there's a long one here. Beverli and Shaun, there's been talk for many years in Canada about Andrew attending a private school in a small town outside of Peterborough. The priest was convicted of SA, and apparently Andrew remained friends with this person until his death a few years ago. From what I've heard, William and Harry were both sent to the school while the same priest was running it. Have you heard of this?
No, that's a new one on me. I haven't heard of anything in Peterborough.
Yeah, that's a new one on me as well, Bonnie, but thank you for the heads up, and it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So, Angelica, who is currently in charge of the ring? Can you tell if that energy is continuing and who is heading it? Isn't it the case, Beverli, that the people at the top just completely operate out of the shadows, and we only hear about people who are expendable, so we wouldn't know properly who's at the top?
Yeah, it's at the top. The top ones are they're always in the shadows, from what I understand. Even though I had done 9 years, and knowing full well some of those, particularly in the UK, which went as far as royalty even, and some of the handlers were people like Philip and others. Even I think that Philip would have been probably at the top of the ring. Most definitely, but there are others that are at his level that are also as part of that ring as well. So, you've got individuals where, small ones disappeared, not ever to be seen again. So there are those that know exactly what's going on, but because they are literally the untouchables, they're so high up the food chain that you hardly ever hear anything of them, except when there's some of the larger kingfish, which would then be the Andrews, the Epsteins, and the WEXNERs and others. When you hear of them going down, then they'll start listening, and then they just come out with their commands: do this, do that, move this, move that, do this there, do that there. That's how they are. Then they'll just stay in the shadows. They'll bark their orders, and they'll get individuals to complete whatever's necessary to make it safe again.
And we see orders coming from the Rothschilds to Epstein, and we see Wexner saying he met Epstein because of a recommendation from the Rothschilds. So you can see a chain of command within these files. Yeah,
I agree with you, absolutely. And there are some of these individuals on these very high-ranking families. There are families, and in fact, there's usually one in each family that decides, nope, I'm not doing this. Not only no, but hell no, I'm not doing this. And there's always one within the Illuminati families that says, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game anymore. I want out, and I'm not prepared to do what you want me to do or participate anymore. And that one person then turns their back and then starts making the change. And we're seeing a lot more of that taking place now.
Thank you for the super chat, Aaron. And Max, do you think Andrew and Wexner are just expendable scapegoats to appease public opinion? And which entity is behind Epstein that laid him so influential and the center of worldwide elite?
So I think Andrew and Herbie, Les is going to be, there will be the scapegoats. A lot of what's gone wrong and a lot of what needs to come out in the public eye in order to appease the general public around the world. The two of them a lot of that information is going to come out because they are the two that will go down, and they are the ones that will be the end payment, and they're hoping that that will be the end of it.
So I'm going to ask you, before this question on screen, I'm going to ask you this question from Ian because he's put it up several times. Do you think that Andrew has, let's just say, been around unalivings and rituals?
From what I recall, and others that were in the same 9-year cycle that I was in, I have been told personally that when he was younger, he had seen personally unaliving. Whether that's true or not, or whether that's just hearsay, I don't know. But it's the same comment had come up from the cleaners quite a few times. So it seems very strange that from 5 or 6 different sources, people are saying, oh, so-and-so was there. And you'd say, well, was that this particular prince? Yes, it was. And this is, 4 or 5 times where the same person had been identified. So in my view, it would be based on what I've heard. Answer would be yes.
So words have popped up in the files that have got people speculating. Jerky is you've been asked about jerky in this question, but there's also references to shrimp, steaks, deer, another. That's just a few of them. Are these code words for what they think they are, or
I think they're code words for what they think they are. Shrimp is a derogatory term for female anatomy, shall we say? Sometimes because they allude to the fact that it is shrimp or fish-like. I'll leave you to think about that one.
All right, and let's see. All right, Maria, we've got Lauren coming on tomorrow night. I think it's at 7. And then Jay-Z's estranged son, Ryan Mia, I think he's coming in at 8. We're going to be discussing the whole Jay-Z thing tomorrow. But what are your thoughts on Jay-Z and the Epstein files, Beverli?
Well, I think there's a lot more that's coming out, and I do think that when Jay-Z was here in the UK with Beyonce, when they were heading off to Glastonbury, at that time, one of my friends was actually the manager who was managing the property, the stately home that they stayed at, and she'd walked in on them having a conversation about his son that they're trying to disprove is his son. And that was quite an interesting one because not soon after that, she decided to move her job because of what she had witnessed. So I think that as well as the fact that the facts around his illegitimate son is going to come out.
And it's such a shame that Rymir can't be acknowledged because allegedly Jay-Z, the procreation was below the age of consent with the mother who's now deceased.
No.
It's like a Greek tragedy story, and Rymir's got such a beautiful spirit. He just radiates positive energy every time we talk to him. And it's so sad to not be acknowledged by your own dad, which is what
it's awful. It's terrible for him. Oh.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. What's your feelings about Meghan Markle's energy with her recent Epstein yacht photos?
Yes, that was an interesting one. I did notice her on the photos because I did see the photos when I was doing some of my Epstein research, and I did see that she was on there. I do think that she might have become one of the yacht girls. It is probable. Her energy was definitely all over the place. Either she'd, taken a couple of glasses of wine or she'd had something, but her energy was spiking, which means that it was manic and it was all over the place. And that would mean that she would have been open to whatever was suggested to her. She would have just gone along with it. So that's what I kind of got from that photograph.
So Ghislaine had multiple relationships at the same time with Randy and Bill Clinton. Was that her work as a spy? I don't know if you've seen the email to Bill Clinton from Ghislaine where she's talking about him being hung like a horse.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that one, but I do know that definitely that Andy and her had had quite a good thing going for quite a long time, because you can see when you look at the pictures, the energy spikes between the two of them are significant. And I think that Randy definitely did like Ghislaine quite a lot, because the energies were coming more from him than her. And I thought that it was very one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, there's big news today. Someone was, I think they infiltrated Mar-a-Lago with a gun and got whacked. I'll double check that in a second while I give this question to you. What do you see around Trump?
Well, there's unusual energy around him, and because everything seems to be like almost like that egg that we had in the original drawing, there is a very large protection egg around him. And I'm not quite sure why it's such a thick protection cell around him. Obviously, there's a reason for it. I'm not quite sure what the reason would be, but I think that energy egg that's around, right the way around from his tip of his toe to the top of his head, I think anything to get through that is going to be very difficult. I don't think it's going to penetrate.
Yeah, so the news headline is that an armed man who entered the perimeter of Mar-a-Lago was taken out by the Secret Service. That's happened today.
Oh, wow.
Was Fergie in love with Epstein, and how far did they go back?
I think that with the Fergie energy, I think it was another one-sided situation where Fergie had felt a lot for Epstein, but I think that part of that energy with the energy from Epstein and the use of the demonics and the way that plays to what the person wants, he was very good at being able to turn things, find out what is it that you desire, what is it that you want, what is it that you need. He's easily pulling that energy out of her. So I think she did have more than just a friendship with him, but it was very definitely one-sided. It was on her side, not on Epstein's side.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add a bit to this question. So we got, all of a sudden, Trump's going to release the UFO files. We've also got, all of a sudden, Trump's about to attack Iran. So is this all to change what's the headlines around the world, get it away from the Epstein files? Is that part of it?
Well, you know, the best way to change the narrative is to give the general public, the sheeple as they call us, because they call us the sheeple, gives the sheeple something else to focus on. So this is all part of the plan. And I would imagine here in the UK, we're also going to have something homegrown on our own doorstep that will come through from Starmer and others. They will find something else for us to start thinking about and worrying about. That's always on the cards with them. You know, it's part of that magic act. Get the audience to look elsewhere. And that's where it's going.
We've got people asking about WEXNER's bracelets. I'll play this without the audio on, so we can see if we can catch what jewelry he is actually wearing. If we could see anything there, I can't see anything yet.
I think he's got a red. From when I looked at him before, he's got a red bracelet, which is somebody has tied that particular red bracelet onto him. As individuals, it could be members of family, it could be somebody outside the family, but the red bracelet is the one that is got a lot of energy attached to it. There is somebody that has tied that to him to tie the souls together and to make a difference. So that was the one red one that I saw. It's a red thread, and it's got to wear off. It's not one that you would cut off. It would have to wear off, and then one day you look at your wrist and it's just not there anymore.
Well, I'm glad you spotted that, because I missed it. Let's see. Is the Vatican the center of all evil?
It's one of the centers. I think it's one of the centers. I do know of individuals that were moved into the underground areas, and I do know of somebody else who actually had seen a very big statue of Baphomet underneath the areas of the Vatican. So He's now 89 years old, and he saw that years and years ago. And he had actually explained what he'd seen to me about 5 weeks ago. So, and he's not the type of person that would tell porcupines. So yes, I think it's one of the key areas. There are others, there are at least 3 that are available around the world.
What is King Charles's and William's current energies?
The King Charles's energy. I did do a full session about him. I can send them to you if you would like to see them. The King Charles's energy is decreasing, and I think that there is, in my view, what I've seen is a transitional energy. So I don't believe that Charlie Boy is going to be around that long. I wouldn't give him a huge amount of time. What would be correct and not misplaced is if he would decide to either abdicate or decide to make significant changes, because I don't think his energy is going to last that long. It's decreasing literally week by week.
Thanks for that super chat, 2018. Epstein is not going away. There is way too much information. So what was your read on William's energy then?
William's energy was quite an interesting one in as much as his levels of frustration are huge. And he does have to walk away because he has to talk to himself and say, just shut up, because there's a lot that he wants to do. There's a lot of changes that he wants to make, and he sees a way forward, but he just can't do it because he's not in the seat of power. He's not able to do half of the things that he would like to do because he still has to kowtow to the current king.
Thanks, 2018. We've got Kevin Annette coming on Saturday, I believe. The Vatican is responsible for residential schools, and does no one remember the docks on nunneries in France with thousands of small skulls in the basement? Absolutely, some of the horrors. And someone else asked about the Ninth Circle. Get that question ready for Kevin when he comes on.
I've done a lot of work with looking for the remains on residential schools, and particularly working a lot with the Native First Nations Americans that are still trying to find their relatives and those that need to be repatriated back to their various tribes. And that is something that we've been working on a couple of months now. And also last year, we had a couple of remote viewing sessions where we were looking at 1 or 2 of the facilities and having a look at where the children were, what was happening in the schools. And we put an entire dossier together on that. So yes, it's a pet project for sure, and it's a very worthy project to make sure these people are sent back to their own tribes.
So in Spur, Prince Harry said he was blooded by a deer ritual. I think Princess Diana mentioned this as well. So Constance is asking, what is the relevance of that?
Well, there's a certain amount of blood that needs to be utilized during any initiation. So that is the initiation that they are talking about specifically.
Colty, was Virginia G's bus hit an accident and then a self-unalivement?
I didn't actually have a look. I didn't look at the bus and to see what was happening there. I just looked at her when she was transitioning out of her body. So I didn't look at that bit.
All right. Let's see. It's Epstein. We've done that one. Thanks to narcissism. We've done that one. Thank you for all the questions that have come in. And let's see. What can Beverli tell us about the one bloodshot eye phenomenon, like the recent Macron?
Well, it looks to me like that the one bloodshot eye is part and parcel of it's like a badge of honor, if you like. So the badge of honor is very specific, but each is very different. Some male ones have a totally different type of initiation and ritual. The females go through a totally different type of ritual as well. Some of them do go through the rainbow rooms. So that would be all the colors of the rainbow. Each room has got a different task and a different cause that you need to pass. And then the last room, right at the end of the corridor, is the red room, and that is the most serious one. And that is when these types of issues start coming about. There's different types. There is a lot of different types because it's not a one size fits all. Depends on who they're aligned with, what level they're aligned at, and how they would be entertained, should we say. I can't think of another word for it. Entertained in order to be able to allow themselves to be part and parcel of that particular group of individuals.
So Louise watched Blink twice last night.
Oh, good.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because we have found in the files Epstein talking about he's growing the plants that produce, I'm just going to call it scope instead of using the full name for the drug.
Yep. Yep.
And this is the one that makes you malleable, and you will have your memory wiped after they do whatever they do to you. So we saw this movie, Blink Twice, where something like that was used. And people thought, this is a bit far-fetched, this stuff that can't really be going on. And here it's documented in the files that Jeffrey is growing that exact substance, that exact plant to produce that substance. And with all the other stuff, the jerky, unalivings, torture, it's as bad as it gets by the sounds of things to me. Would you say, Beverli?
I think there's some bits that can get worse. We just haven't heard about them yet. So the cloning and the direct manipulation of DNA of young ones. And also, I think we haven't seen yet just how many children there are, the progeny of the Jeffrey Epstein. There are many. When I did his aura last year, I put quite a few of the little ones into his aura because he has actually fathered a lot of children, a lot. And also he has utilized with the scientists that he was so well induced with. He got them to utilize some of his financial backing to look at how he could splice and change the DNA so that it would be more like the perfect person or the perfect being or the perfect human. We haven't got that. That hasn't come out yet. I think that will come out in time. The next 2 years is critical because this is when I think we're going to be joining all the dots. This is just the start of it. It's going to go on for a very long time, at least 24 months.
Yeah, because when we had Anya Wick on and she claimed that she was a relative of Epstein, and some people were skeptical about that. Looking at all these files, God knows how many bloody relatives he's got out there. And Anya Wick called out the Baal connection and everything. That video's picked up again and just gone through 3 million views. So lots of the stuff she said, it's absolutely come out in these files that she's correct about it. So, Elle, what is your opinion on the origins of these people? And how are we different?
So I think the origins of these individuals, I think that they do have a high level of. I will say that this is more of a reptilian type of individual. So when the reptilian brain or the reptilian mind, if you like, is not switched off, whereas us, before we are born, we go through all the stages, as you know, and you end up looking like tadpoles and you look like reptiles and you look like something else until eventually a human comes out on the other end. But I do think that some of these individuals have got stuck in the reptilian brain side of during the pregnancy, and that gives them that higher level of being able to distance themselves from any tragedy or any harm or cruelty that is happening in front of them, because it actually doesn't mean anything to them. They just don't have that ability to feel. That is my own sort of personal view on the energies, because I think that when they were developing, I think that they stopped at the reptilian brain and they didn't go any further.
The most common question coming in now is, the effects of all of this on Andrew's daughters and what their energy is like presently.
I checked them last. When did I check them last? I checked them last in November last year. I did about 6 separate drawings of them, and both of the young girls were in there. And I think that they are fully aware within themselves. They're fully aware of the level of debauchery that is alleged from their father. But I do think that they're finding this extremely difficult, because a lot of this they're not party to. Some of it they are party to, but they didn't want to believe it. And that in itself is also quite tragic, with the child does not want to believe that the father could have been involved with this, because some of those individuals that claim that they are survivors of him and his actions were actually younger than his own daughters. So the energies tell me that they are pushing away and believing that they don't want to believe what is being told to them. They prefer to believe that it's just all lies.
They've got to, otherwise they'd just melt down psychologically, because
Exactly.
the whole lives are based on lies.
Yeah.
So, Kat, are they mixing rituals with eugenics fertility practice? Kat, so we've done a whole series on this now. We did 2 episodes with Professor Hamamoto. We did an episode with Nick Bryant, the New Mexico Ranch, the Zorro Ranch, the eugenics. We read the emails about the creation of hermaphrodite babies, etc., for certain purposes, let's just say. So they are absolutely mixing all this up, as far as I'm concerned. What's your thoughts, Beverli?
Absolutely, they are, and they have been for a very, very long time. In fact, in excess of about 60 or 70 years. This is not new. This has been around for as long as I've been around. So they have been doing exactly this, and they've had their own agenda. So yes, I would agree with you. Yeah, they have been doing exactly that.
Now they've got the science and AI in the mix to exacerbate it.
Exactly. Gosh.
So Leon Black supposedly gave Epstein over $150 million for financial advice. He's supposed to be a financial wizard himself. Do you see Leon Black getting convicted? Because he's riding high Apollo Group, as far as I understand.
Well, he is. Yeah, he is. And I think that there will be a level of investigation on all individuals that are either mentioned or have had made mention in some way across the Epstein files. I do expect that the Leon Black person will be questioned at some point, but I think that at the moment it's going to be people like Andrew and Les Wexner. That will be the first in line.
What energy are you seeing around Samantha Guthrie, and what about the one bruised eye photo?
Oh, Samantha Guthrie, that's the lady that was apparently, is that the one that was kidnapped from her home? Is that the one?
Yeah, in America. It's the recent case in America, yeah.
Yeah, it is the recent one. I haven't had a look into that. I don't really watch mainstream television at all. And the bruised on the eye, well, if there's one that she's bruised on one eye, then that would make me wonder why they would have taken her. But I haven't really looked into the Samantha Guthrie case, not really.
Are there countries or geographical places where people are more protected against demons, or where they don't congregate?
I think there are some places where there's a higher level of understanding of the energies, shall we say, and also there are individuals that are especially adept at protecting themselves and protecting their homes, and making sure that they take these levels of protections to the highest degree to make sure that these jinn or these demonic entities don't enter their homes, and more so don't enter themselves or the children particularly that are in that home. For instance, there's places in Japan where they do various types of rituals where they make sure that they cleanse, clear and close the energy areas around the house. They do a lot of They have these talismans and they have written prayers on prayer flags, and make sure that as much as they can do to make sure that the home is secure and safe from entities, they do that. And there's various other countries throughout the world that do the same sort of things as well.
So the next question then, is Fergie demonic?
I think she does have an attachment. It's not Duke level, I can tell you that. She does have one of those lower ranking ones that is particularly, one of them has got a lot of greed, sexual greed, those sorts of aspects. It's not at the level that Andrew has, definitely not. It's much lower.
There's nothing high level about Fergie, is there? She's
no,
just
not really. No, not really, Lord.
Even her demonic energy's 2 out of 10 on the
yeah, it's puffy. It's not nice. It's a stinky one. Yeah, it's a smelly one, that's for sure.
The reptilian goes into powerful people with authority. So yeah. Is it a reptilian? Is that part of the demonic entity stuff?
It would be part of the demonic areas, yes, because there are those that are more reptilian looking and they show themselves as more demonic reptilians as opposed to just demonic. There's different types. I've got some great pictures of them coming out of the fire when there was a clearing that was done, and it was cast into the fire. And you could see them as clear as day. There they were jumping out. I'll send you some pictures and you can look at it and think, oh my goodness me, it's as clear as day.
Didn't Princess Diana say that the royal family were reptilians?
I think she did at some point. I can't remember when she said it, but I know she did say. I mean, wasn't that part of the reason why she threw herself down the stairs, because she didn't want to be part of all that, because she was just a breeder anyway.
Thanks to the super chat. 2018, we've been looking for life outside of our planet since about 500 years ago. Life is precious, but you need the right parent to get that. We are community. DEI is good. Appreciate all the super chats you've sent in tonight, 2018. And we're almost at 2 hours with Beverli. You've been very generous with your time. And please don't forget to subscribe to Beverli's channel. I'm going to put it in the live chat as well as in the description box. Beverli, what would you like to say to the viewers in conclusion with all this going on? People must be just sickened and can't believe how far this is going.
I think always remember that we are sovereign souls and that we have the right of free will to make all the decisions about ourselves. And that when you see these awful things happening around you, make sure that you keep your energy within yourself and that you don't allow yourself to become too tied up in the frequencies of what those that organize our world, because they want us to be fearful. They want us to be shocked. They want us to be angry, because that's the loosh, the energy that they are feeding on. And if we as sheeple start covering that up and start being calm and realizing that there is a universal thread here and that the universe will take its course and will come to a good ending or a good outcome. Don't give your power away. Make sure that you keep your energy to yourself.
All right. What can people look forward to at your channel in the coming days? And put a 1 in the chat, guys, if you want Beverli to come back and answer the 5 million outstanding questions at some point.
So I do these aura sessions that I'm doing. What I do now is as part of a personal session, you send me a picture beforehand and obviously your permission for me to do the drawing of you. I will then do the drawing, and then in the session we'll go through everything that's in the aura, and then you can see, what is happening, what are the ancestrals, what's happening a little bit with the health, having a look at what your chakras are, what your energy points are. It's very interesting, and I must say that 1 or 2 of my clients have taken the aura pictures and printed them out. One has printed them onto a mug, which was very nice, looked super, very cool. And the other, 1 or 2 of the others have put them on a canvas, and the other one put them in a photograph. So it's just a representation of where you are at. If you know you're growing spiritually and you want to see what you look like, then that's a great session to have. And you can also use gift vouchers to give it to someone who you love.
Well, huge thank you for coming on, Beverli. You have a great rest of your weekend. I'm going to close the show and let you go. I hope to speak soon. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye to everyone in the chat. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, what a phenomenal show, folks. And we have got many more coming up. We've got Jimmy Dore confirmed. I went to watch Jimmy Dore in Liverpool with my parents. He was bloody hilarious. And I think that is the 26th. Is it the 26th? I'll have to double check with Shane after this. My next show is Lauren on Jay-Z and other celebs in the files. Hopefully with Rymia, Jay-Z's estranged son, tomorrow, starting at 7. That's going to be a good one. And then we have got Epstein Files Exposed with Ghislaine Maxwell testimony with Justin Shepherd. That is the next day. We've got Kevin Annette coming back next Saturday. And we've got the Phoenix Enigma people coming back. Isaac Cappy and the Epstein Files. Yes. February the 27th, 9 p.m. UK. That is going to be insane as well. It's going to be a hell of a show, folks. So I am going to sign off for now and get to bed and hopefully see some of you guys tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in and take care, and hope to see some of you in the next live